Welcome to SVG Television, news for Monday, July 28th, 2014. I'm Jimmy Prince for the details. The Eastern Caribbean Monetary Council has reassured the region's citizens that the stability of the Eastern Caribbean dollar will be maintained despite the financial challenges taking place around the world. According to Sir Dwight Venner, governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, this analysis was based on a number of factors, including the backing of the currency. Sir Dwight explains that there must be foreign exchange reserves to back the currency, and this was currently at 95%. This figure is above the required legal limit of 60% and the operational limit of 80%.
The third thing we look at has to do with the markets for foreign exchange. We have what we call an open account. That is to say, there's no foreign exchange controls. If there was an issue with the currency, you would have capital flight. In other words, people would move, right, the money out of the currency. And that is not the case. In fact, to our surprise, the rate is 2.70. And if you go to places in town, hotels and so, you know they give you 2.50, right? Which is a revaluation of the currency. And finally, what we call a real effective exchange rate, which is a technical judgment of the currency, that is within the ranges that we would have it to be. So I think as we speak, and somewhere out in the future, I would say that the stability of the currency will be maintained.
Governor Venner states that the IMF had recently reported the EC dollar's strong performance in its Common Policies report.
In this report, definitively said that there is no need to change the parity of the currency. That comes as very good news in the sense there are some people like Moody's and other people who have been speaking about this. So if the IMF, whose role in the international system has to do with exchange rates and the sort of pronouncing that, then I should say I rest my case.
And with the news that there is no immediate threat to the performance of the Eastern Caribbean dollar, it is anticipated that real gross domestic product across the Eastern Caribbean Monetary Council member states will see an increase. Speaking at the closing of the Monetary Council's meeting last Friday, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves and the new chairman of the Monetary Council made the announcement. Dr. Gonsalves explains that the GDP is expected to increase from 1.1% in 2013 to 1.7% in 2014 and is expected to increase a further 2.1% in 2015.
Increasing GDP growth rates is a policy priority for the currency union member governments, as increased growth is likely to strengthen the financial sector and improve fiscal and debt sustainability. The Council reiterated our continued commitment to efforts of fiscal adjustment, coordination and consolidation.
In more OECS news, governments are being urged to take a more holistic approach to growth in the region by being bold and transformational in their actions. Delivering his address at the 59th OECS Authority meeting, which was held here on Saturday, OECS Director General Didicus Jules says for Caribbean economies to realize real growth with equity, they have to reframe their thinking about economic growth.
And we must recalibrate our socio-political economic strategies in the context of global competitiveness. A holistic approach to growth requires strong policies for macroeconomic stability, a proactive effort to foster competitiveness against global partners, a social agenda that can be communicated and received as reasonably fair if not equitable, and a governance structure to engender trust and respect for authority. The imperative to act is urgent. The question is, do governments and the people of the region have the will to see this through in a timely manner?
The Director General further offered the three principles to guide the OECS deliberations in what he calls this crucial moment.
Because duplication can no longer be afforded. Because the unity of will and action is the glue that will strengthen our defenses. The second are vision priorities. Because times are tough, and we must focus on as the Dwight constantly reminds us, on the essential few rather than the necessary many. The identification and picking of low-hanging integration fruit is essential to improving the appetite of the people of the region for deeper and wider initiatives. Third, a sense of urgency, because opportunity is a time-sensitive commodity, which, if not seized in the moment at which it presents itself, evaporates.
In related news, the OECS Director General says with a more convergent range of interest, the OECS is well placed to invigorate the regional integration movement.
And the Commission is undertaking its own process of organizational change to better respond to that historical challenge and to better serve the wishes of the authority. Stronger, wider, and tighter unity is not just possible, but necessary.
Meanwhile, St. Vincent and the Grenadines is said to have been and continues to be a strong driving force in regional integration. Immediate past chairman of the OECS Authority and the Prime Minister of Antigua Barbuda, Gaston Brown, on Saturday, while speaking at the 50th meeting of the OECS Authority, commended St. Vincent and the Grenadines for being committed towards regional integration. Brown says on the OECS Economic Union, this country has often been first to reach the implementation benchmarks that have been set.
And I say this without any fear of contradiction, that it would have been as a result of the commitment of your leader, Ralph Gonsalves. We welcome St. Vincent and the Grenadines' commitment and leadership, vital as they are to the overall success of our union.
In other news, this country, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, celebrates with Sudanese woman Mariam Ibrahim, who was recently released from prison in Sudan and is now safely in Italy. Ibrahim was imprisoned for her Christian beliefs and gave birth to her baby in prison. Prime Minister's Press Secretary Hans King says in a news release today, several governments, civil society organizations and prominent individuals worldwide pressured the government of Sudan to release Ibrahim in the care of her husband, family and friends. King says the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines was part of this campaign through its diplomatic efforts, including a letter written to the President of Sudan by the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves. King adds that Prime Minister Gonsalves and his government are sensitive to the protection and defense of the religious liberty and other freedoms of individuals globally. The Sudanese woman on Thursday, July 24, 2014, met with Pope Francis in Italy. Well, the government is said to be working assiduously to ensure the phenomenon of digital divide doesn't take root here. More coming up when we come back. Welcome back. A workshop for secondary school teachers aimed at increasing their competence and confidence in the use of ICT tools got underway this morning. The 4-week training workshop is being organized by the Ministry of Education in collaboration with the National Center of Technological Innovation and Training. It is expected to train participants in the use of Windows 8.1, Microsoft Office, and Acer Classroom Management and Productivity tools. Some 15,000 laptops were recently distributed to secondary school students here under the One Laptop Per Child initiative, and according to Chief Education Officer Luan Gilchrist, the training of teachers has become a vital component of this project.
For it is one thing to distribute devices to the students, but it is a whole other affair to ensure that students use these devices, in this particular case the Acer laptops, for the purposes for which they have been distributed. And these purposes have everything to do with enhancing students' engagement, enhancing their technological skills, enhancing their ability to conduct research and to present the findings of that research so as to improve their performance and their outcome.
Meanwhile, Minister of ICT, Camilo Gonsalves, has made it clear that digital divide will not exist in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Gonsalves, while speaking at the opening ceremony of the Teachers Training Workshop on ICT this morning, says that his government is working assiduously to ensure that the phenomenon does not take root here. The term digital divide refers to the situation where information and technology is usually more accessible to the wealthy members of society, while the poorer classes are usually left out.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines, with this One Laptop Per Student program and the internet that we are providing in schools and soon to be in other areas, is obliterating the digital divide in the Vincentian context. There will be no digital divide here because a poor student and a rich student will both have laptops, will both have internet access, and will both have the ability to communicate with the outside world in a way that most of the developed countries in the world cannot even begin to imagine.
The first phase of the Regional Security Systems Basic Training course came to an end last Friday at the Old Montrose Police Station, and the Deputy Commissioner of Police, Ronald Hathaway, says the training is essential, particularly at this time when there is an upsurge in crime at home and around the region, specifically gun-related activities. Hathaway further notes that the integrity of the region continues to be challenged by the criminal underworld, such as transnational crime, money laundering, kidnapping, the drug trade, and the proliferation of gun-related crimes.
We must do all in our powers to nip this menace in its infancy stage. Let us all exercise zero tolerance on these dastardly acts. We must forge forward collectively in order to ensure that the individuals engaged in the underground world are pursued vigorously and brought to justice. We must do all within our powers legally to ensure the peace and tranquility of our region is not undermined. To achieve this, the security forces of the region must be adequately trained and equipped. And although training is an ongoing process, we are all confident that the training you were exposed to over the last 12 weeks have provided you with the basic knowledge and skill to arrest this threat.
The first of 3 scheduled workshops on child nutrition standards and meal planning for St. Vincent and the Grenadines was today conducted in Kingstown. The first workshop opened today at the St. Vincent Grammar School. Food nutritionist in the Ministry of Health and the Environment, Andrea Robin, says nutrition is an evolving and growing science, and as they find new information, it is important that it is shared with the persons directly involved with providing meals daily, particularly to schools.
Children are facing health problems, and so we want the program to help them and not to harm them. Long ago, the program was put in place to help children who are undernourished, small for size, not carrying enough weight. But you and I know, as we look around today, a lot of the children are carrying too much weight. And so we have to adjust our program accordingly. We have to be more wise in how we prepare and in what we do. And our role today as facilitators is just to help you in that.
Robin says the Ministry of Health thinks such workshops are critical as the school feeding program affects the health of children.
Education thinks it's critical because without a proper meal, the children cannot learn in school. They cannot learn, you hear me? They will not learn. They need food to be able to give them the energy and the other nutrients that they need to perform well. In today's presentations, you will find out more about that in the first presentation on the nutrition needs of children. Later on, you will have presentation on meal planning and menu planning from some very knowledgeable experts. And we will cover nutrition standards as well. I will do that session. And you will also be looking at food safety. And so I just simply want to say that the project is a simple one, but it required the collaboration of many people.
The workshop on child nutrition standards and meal planning for the school feeding program is sponsored by the Mustique Charitable Trust. The next workshop will be held on the Tuesday, July 29th at the Connery Learning Resource Center and on Wednesday 30th at the Barley Learning Resource Center. Meanwhile, a representative of the Mustique Charitable Trust, Sheena Child, says the trust is pleased to be sponsoring the workshop and the school feeding program in the amount of some $28,000.
Hope that this project is very successful. We will be monitoring the project with Miss Robin. Right. And it's supposed to be a 2-year project. Hopefully one of our trustees would be here in December 2015 at the closing to see how how it goes.
Young and aspiring entrepreneurs here were on Saturday told of the importance of exploring their passions and taking risks. Edson Ross, featured speaker at the closing of the Creativity for Employment and Business Opportunity Community Workshop, told the 22 participants that it is critical that they not just think about their ideas, but to actively take steps to bring those ideas to life.
Enhance your skills, learn from others, and always keep a job until you can create your own. I've worked since I was a child. Grew up battling school, plus a job always. As a teenager, I worked on a farm and with a wholesale company. Hard work does pay off. I've had a series of sleepless nights, but I've also had 2 exhibitions and been part of 4 others. One of my images made the daily dozen amongst thousands of photographers all over the world on National Geographic. I've placed 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in photography competitions both locally and regionally. I've grown to offer different kinds of services in my field, bought new equipment. I now have a few well-known companies as clients. My business income for this year already passed last year's before mid-year. So it means I've grown up.
Ross further challenged the participants to explore their creative abilities.
Look at what's available to you. The choice you made by being here is already a big step. A huge advantage. Gather your resources, protect them, use them wisely, and for the sole purpose of your business only. Remember, the business money is the business own. You have to make sacrifices.